me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
Life is about service to others. Like genuinely, like that's what I realized. Yeah, at 20, whatever I said it was 20, 21 year olds. It's like, okay, I'm gonna live a life of service to others, a selfless life, and I'm gonna be totally enriched by that. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna be totally enriched by my dedication to community, and I haven't wavered from that, and it's been so enriching.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. Today, we're diving deep into the heart of the community, connecting with the visionaries who shape our public spaces. We're thrilled to bring you a special leadership series featuring Donte Watson, a dedicated professional from Santa Rosa, California. Donte's journey in parks and recreation is a testament to the transformative power of these vital community pillars. From safe environments and engaging programs that uplift youth, to fostering community connections, his work exemplifies how parks and recreation are more than just spaces. They're incubators for growth, connection, and well-being. Join us as we explore the incredible impact of Parks and Rec and hear how leaders like Donte are building legacies.
Been a little bug over the past few weekends, so forgive me if I'm a little twinge.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah. Okay. So we are live again here with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. We're going to have two leadership series because I had some technical issues yesterday with my special guest, Donte Watson from Santa Rosa, California. How are you doing today, Donte?
I'm doing very well. Good to see you this morning.
Yeah. All right. So per usual, we will play a little explainer as to what we're trying to accomplish by building a media company for parks and recreation, the industry nationwide. And then we'll come back and get to know all about Donte and his journey in parks and recreation. Well,
sounds wonderful.
Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day. All right, so that's what we're attempting to accomplish. Lifelong mission, I think, but highlighting people just like Donte. He has I can't wait for y'all to get to hear his story in Parks and Recreation. But so Donte, why don't you take us back to the early days when you were a high schooler? If you could describe, because we actually have quite a growing number of high school and college kids that are very new to Parks and Recreation. And have yet to consider this as a career path for them. So maybe you can describe who you were growing up as a young man, and maybe they can see themselves in you.
Well, firstly, I want to say that really excites me because that's one of the things, and perhaps we'll get into this a little bit more later, but yeah, that's one of the things about this field, I think, that always is remarkable to me. Many people fall into this field. They don't kind of acknowledge it as a field that exists, but it's a rich field and it's very rewarding. And so going back, and even before when I was a teen, I really would like to talk about how it touched me as a younger child in elementary school.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I think subconsciously, when I did become kind of age, when I was in my junior and senior year in college, I was, early 20s. I hearkened back to when I had these experiences as a youngster in Oakland, running around playgrounds, running around sports fields, at the recreation center. And it was just an awesome experience because especially when I was growing up in the 80s in Oakland, it was a rough place. And you had to be wary. And you had to kind of make sure you mapped out where you were trying to go, what was your route. And oftentimes going through the park or around the park was a pretty safe place. There was other, obviously, adults who were caring, kind of look out for you, and created kind of a safe and fun environment. And so, having those opportunities with those caring adults who just, organized us, whether it was playing flag football or, we were doing crafts, or whether it was seasonal camps or just drop in after school and you got a snack. Those things were pivotal. Like it wasn't just a nice to have thing. Like in my neighborhood, there were those kids who honestly, that may be one of the few meals that they got, going to the rec center and getting that snack. And so fast forward now, going back to when I am a teen, and I had a friend of mine said to me, "Hey man, I'm working for the city's recreation program, doing a summer program with the kids, opportunity to become a recreation leader, which is ultimately what I was able to kind of enter the field as."
And how old were you back then, or this is high school days?
No, I probably was about 21.
Okay.
This was actually in my junior and senior year in college.
Yeah. Well, maybe before we get to that part, tell us a little bit more about, because I don't think we talk about it enough, about how, so many people in our community are the beneficiaries of all the hard work you're doing to create these kind of safe environments that may be the only safe environment that a lot of kids have. Can you just maybe, were there any specific standout things as a high schooler or as a grade schooler that really impacted you?
For me, it was just, again, those, because they were just a little bit older than us. They were either older teens or young adults themselves who met us on the blacktops at school. This is back in the 80s when you actually had a marriage between, and I don't know if this was the case in many other cities, but you kind of had a complementary relationship between the school districts as well as the parks departments. And so when the school district staff and so forth would leave the school ground, for example, Parks and Rec would kind of take over. And so they would be there in those after school hours and just kind of give us be a guidepost for us, somebody to rally around, somebody who was an example. Again, somebody who showed us, hey guys, I know there's a lot of other stuff going on around here, but hey, you can participate in these activities. We can have fun. You can be safe. You can develop relationships, develop social skills. Obviously a lot of the things we didn't realize we were developing, right? The types of things that we were developing. So I think for me, those types of things were critical again, because it was just like, wow, there's somebody out here who wants to look out for us, who wants to make sure that we have an opportunity to do something constructive, positive, to develop relationships with each other. Those things were impactful to me.
Yeah.
And then, as time progresses, you have, certain figures, whether it was like typically in like high school, it would be like a PE teacher, would be like a coach or things. You have kind of like those key figures who, again, they're just kind of a person there, kind of, that they have experience, they have a reputation, they can kind of guide you down a certain type of path. So kind of being in their orbit. So definitely, there were adults like that around. And I would say probably, as I'm coming through my, transitioning from like middle school into high school, that was probably more, because I played sports. So I played basketball, for the school and for the league. Whereas other sports are kind of just played informally. But definitely like those folks, were key in terms of our development. Just kind of saying, okay, like, hey, this is fun. This is a path to do something, again, something constructive, something positive. I would camaraderie of being with other people and us having a kind of collective shared sense of purpose, and that definitely translated over into this field, right? Because it's critical that you do have, obviously most organizations have a mission, you have values and a vision, and so I think those things are critical, kind of to giving you a guidepost and giving you kind of marching orders, so to speak.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in most careers, it's not till the end of life after retirement that you start thinking about what you're going to leave behind as a legacy and really investing in your community. And yet there's an industry all along that lives the entire industry. Their best years of their life are focused on giving back and doing what they did for you when you were young. You don't have to wait till you're 65 and halfway spent to start do this in your 20s.
Absolutely. And so kind of going back to your initial point, that's definitely something in recent years that has kind of had more prominence in my mind in terms of like, we need to let young people know about these opportunities. We need to make sure we're in their face, whether that's going to the job fairs or linking up with counselors in schools and things of that nature, but just making sure that, hey, we're here. Like you may have a skill or an ability that you're not even considering as an asset. Recreation is so expansive. It's like I have to remind people like, hey, maybe you do graphic design. We can incorporate that into recreation.
Yeah.
Maybe you do a martial art, yoga, meditation. Like there is, again, you can incorporate so much. And so it's just like, I always encourage people like, think about, it's funny because years ago we used to have this thing called 40 developmental assets, but think about the assets that you have, lay them out on the table and then pick the ones that you'd like to invest in, because ultimately you're kind of investing in yourself. And so it's kind of just, we try to do that with young people, have these types of conversations and say, hey, it's an exciting field. You get to interface with people. It's fun. You're outdoors typically. And so, yeah, man, I mean, like that's something I definitely, again, as time progresses and I get older, that's something that's more important to me, is like letting young people know, like, this is a career path. This is an opportunity. You don't have to be a fireman or, there's a mechanic, like there's other, ways you could go. Of course, be a doctor or a lawyer, but
right.
Nothing wrong with being a rec director either, or supervisor or what have you.
Well, and I think on a deeper level, it's what do we do with our abundance, whether it's abundance as a nation, as a city, as a state, even as a business owner. When you have abundance, Parks and Rec is where a lot of that abundance finds itself to start investing in the people in the next generation and stuff. And so if you want to work in that arena, this is it. Like this is where all that money finds itself, is because you see a lot of much poorer nations or war-torn nations. They're not like thinking about how they're going to build the next playground. They're just trying to survive.
Right.
But you can literally dedicate your life to saying, all right, now that we have this abundance, how do we want to really help others and lift people up? This is the industry for you.
Agreed. And again, like I said, whatever your talent or interest is, there are manifold ways to do that, and it just creates other pathways for like-minded, individuals. So
yeah,
I love this.
Yeah. All right. So then 21, you get the invitation. And so this is really you actually considering, okay, I'm going to put some of my hours into this, some of my life, pour my life into this.
Definitely. I mean, like I said, as a young person, I always appreciated group dynamics. I always wanted to be involved with my peers and contributory in their lives. There was a way I could help. And so it just kind of came natural to me. Like I said, that my friend, he said, hey man, you want to get, summer job? I'm like, sure. And so when I got out there, again, I kind of harkened back to, oh yeah, now I get to do for these kids what those, what those adults did for me when I was a kid in the 80s growing up. Give them the comfort, confidence, guidance. So, an adult they could look up to, fun, fun, cultivating community, a sense of like, typically when you're a rec leader, you get like 8, 9, 10 kids and like, okay, guys, like this is our group. This is our little family for the week.
That's
and
it.
So just building community and then, learn to interface with parents and other city staff and coordinating and collaborating, being out in the public. Like I said, when I got out there, I realized like, one, I love the ability to do, again, provide what was provided to me as a youngster, paying it forward, so to speak. And it's just fun. Like, again, all of the above that I mentioned, like you're outdoors, you're being active, you're hanging out with young people that keep you young, keep you creative. And so I just realized, okay, this is, I'd always been community oriented and actually wanted to work with young people. I considered education at one point, but recreation, I just realized, again, like I said, the level of creativity, how expansive you can be. It wasn't limiting in any way. You could incorporate so much into it. So I fell in love and, like I said, did that for a couple of summers. And then after that, graduated from UC Santa Cruz, came back to Oakland and was like, okay, what jobs are there in recreation? So
if you were 21 on this, let's say you were 21 right now and we're having this conversation, I would just be floored by the maturity of those thoughts going through a 21-year-old's mind. Any idea of where that came from? Like, is that just genetics? You get that from your mom or dad? Because you rarely hear someone in their 20s thinking so service-minded, giving back.
Ironically, I came to find out later, speaking to my grandparents, speaking to my aunts, that they were always very, one, politically active, but also just very, very socially active in their communities. Kind of the ethos that I'm describing, folks who look out for their peers, want to make sure that they have opportunities, they're of good cheer, their, minds and hearts are in good status. And I think that's kind of, again, just whether it was, I would see, for example, when I was a kid, my grandparents, I want to say they moved at their house in, was it 49 or 59? I think it was 59. They still live at the same house.
Wow.
And so they were stalwarts in the community. And like when you just were in your dire straits, for example, you could come to I've seen people come to my grandparents or grandfather's house and say, hey, I need this. And they give it to them. And those people come back and actually, like, for example, they borrowed something, they come back and pay my grandparents. I mean, and mind you, some sketchy situations and folks, but they had enough respect because my grandfather had seen them grown ups and they were children. So anyway, saying all of that to say, there always been a community oriented feel. For example, when I was a kid, my father was like the neighborhood father. My mother was the neighborhood mother. People would come to my home, we would have sleepovers and stuff like that. And it was always a sense of just family orientation. Like you come into my home, hey, you kind of part of the family. Like, so you just develop that sense of closeness and sense of maintaining well-being for others, not being selfish and just being about yourself, but like, how can I pour into my neighbor, my family member, so to speak, and make sure that they're, good heart and mind, a good outlook. And so that was kind of where it came from for me. Just again, like whether I just received it genetically and then also just an observation. My family's up, my mother as well. Just always, always inclined towards helping out, looking out, wanting to be part of a kind of group network and dynamic.
It reminds me of a book. I can't remember if this was a Malcolm Gladwell book, but it was called Tribes. That was the name of it. And it went into just how somewhere over time we lost this sense of a local community. We used to call them tribes or clans or whatever. And it sounds like you grew up in one and just were immersed in it. And it was just your career was just a natural outflowing of that experience.
I think not only, and I agree. And I think not only just in my family, but I just think that was part of the ethos of the Oakland community, like growing up. It was tough. And so people kind of tried to look to help each other out, kind of make ends meet or whatever you want to say. Like, so I think there was always just a sense of, let's put our arms around each other. And sometimes I may be at a disadvantage, you can help me. And other times it may be vice versa. So kept you humble, it kept you, oriented towards person on your left and your right,
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things in the book, it was saying how resilient these tribes can be when
Mhm.
families can naturally fall apart either due to death or divorce or tragic events, and then you get all these people that end up just alone, but the tribe can come and just swoop up everyone. And I
Right.
see that like in Parks and Rec, part of this
Definitely.
culture is so strong about we're not going to leave anybody out. Who are we
Absolutely.
leaving out? Let's go get 'em.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's always kind of been my approach. Again, even when we start talking about things like inclusion, I mean, in Oakland, I think we were when I was there, they had an excellent inclusion program that had been established like over some time, maybe even decades.
Mhm.
But the idea was like, okay, how can we kind of do an intake and assess? Can we incorporate these kids into our kind of mainstream program? Would they be more comfortable in an environment with other kids of similar ability or what have you? But yeah, like how can again? I don't. It's not about pushing you out. It's about how can we
Mhm.
bring you in. And so when you
Right.
see kids, for example, when we're at a camp and there's 100 kids and you got one that's riding around in a chair that's motorized, and then maybe there's different instances where they may need help or whatever. You just see the kids kind of naturally like, hey, are you okay? Can I help you do? And so it's just like, again, cultivating that energy, that ethos. It's a beautiful thing to see, because it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, again, how can we bring folks into the fold as opposed to kind of pushing them out? So
Yeah, and it can even be as simple as the community getting a bus because, you have the statistics, how many kids are in your community, and then you can see most of the kids that don't have a ride are not showing up. So all we need to do is just pick them up, and now they're included.
absolutely, and I think those are the types of if funds are available, but those are the things that you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
It's right. You're trying to mitigate and create greater opportunity,
Mm.
based on whatever circumstance folks are dealing with. But you want to definitely give them a pathway.
Mm. So what is that first 5 to 10 years, up into like when you came into your 30s, how is this molding you? What are some of the experiences you're having during that time frame?
I mean, man, it really made me into a leader. I mean, all of the stuff that kind of received genetically or that I watched in my community, whether it's my family dynamics or other, leaders in the community, it kind of it just hit me like, okay, now it's your turn.
Mm.
Like you're at the reins. You had all of these folks who kind of again tried to clear the way for you and make the landing path smooth for you, in as much as it could be. Now it's your turn to do it.
Mm.
So whether it was I've worked at huge parks with 20 languages being spoken, and you got all this activity, and so it just really makes you have to immerse yourself, get down eye level with the people, and start talking, start
Mm.
working, recognizing like what shared values do we have? What shared purpose? Oh, you want to make sure that the kids are safe after school and give them a sports program to do? Hey, I want that same thing too. How can we
Right.
make it happen? Oh, you guys want to play volleyball over there on the courts? Sure, let's do it. Like, let me set you up a program. Like, so just working with folks, and ultimately kind of, what's that song? Give the people what they want.
Yeah.
Giving them what they want. Like, I want to
Yeah.
hear from you. Tell me, genuine community engagement. And just so those like partnership. I mean, like there was so much that I just learned from again just being immersed in community,
Mm.
where it's just like okay, and you start realizing kind of like you're the linchpin. Like how can you make all of these various slices of the community work? So I'm talking about like community-based organizations. Okay, they have funding and resources. Oh, okay, but I got kids that come in here every day. They want to teach kids how to, be ready for the job market. I got a captive audience of kids right here every day. Let me bring these kids to this resource and let's make it happen for them. And so
Mm.
just all of those types of things, creating the connective, you become one of those individuals in the community that creates the connective tissue that makes
Oh, I love it.
community be connected. And so I love being in that position where I can be a steward, for the community and say, okay, I see all the different, multifaceted elements in the community. How can I make these things connect for people in a way where it improves their quality of life, improves their ability to experience opportunities, be exposed, and things like that. So that, I mean, generally speaking, man, for example, when you said the first kind of like 10 years, that was right. I had my first kid at 30. So the community was my kid up until that point. You know, I really, I'll give you an example. I remember one day I was at a park called San Antonio Park in Oakland. This was my first kind of full-time job where I'm running a park site, and I'm the guy. There's nobody else there giving me any direction or guidance. Like on the ground there, I'm the guy.
You're everything.
Right. And I lost my thought.
Well, look, till it comes back, I was thinking, I used to be a master electrician as a young man and didn't really know what I was doing on a job site. And so I had to learn what was in my tool pouch, how it worked, and some basic electrical theory. How would you describe the tool pouch you need to build as a young person coming in? Is it the communication skills? I mean, what are like the top 5 or 6 skills that you're wielding in this career?
So communication will be first and foremost. We're in a community space, and you're dealing with hearts and minds. I mean, after all, it's a very human experience. So definitely like interpersonal communication skills. I would say, obviously, you need to be able to spot kind of like character traits in people and qualities in people that you think, okay, if we bring that to the fold, that would create a richer situation for those we're trying to serve and interface with. Certainly planning, coordination. You have to be, again, this is about team dynamics, because typically planning and coordination is not an individual thing. So you have to be able to work with others. Again, communication is implied in that as well. And like things like budget development, you know, how do you select and train staff? So those are kind of like the fundamental pieces I start learning, like, okay. And then too, like I said, the key one, community engagement, not just marketing. Like, you have to do that, but like really engaging, not just like, hey, here's my product, buy it. More so like, hey, here's my product. You probably would be interested, but let me hear from you. What types of things are you looking for? What things do your kids appreciate? What do you appreciate? You know, and so on. So just, so communication, you know, like I said, coordination, collaboration, you know, like I said, being able to spot character traits, again, that you see, like, okay, these are some good qualities to have in a room. And if we bring this all together, facing the community, we have a lot to give. So the fundamental things, just being able to kind of recognize those things and spot those things and develop those capacities within yourself and others.
Yeah, and that is as much as I love and appreciate everything the universities do to prepare our kids for this life, everything you just described is almost on the job training. There's no way to learn it, but just go do it, and you get better at it.
Essentially, I mean, and that's another thing I like about this field. It's like you kind of go in raw. Like I said, that first experience, it was just kind of like, okay. I mean, certainly I have some basis for some of these skill sets, but yes, you're very much in the moment, like developing and learning, and say, okay, let's file this over here. I remember that situation when I approached that again. Now I have this frame of reference. And so it's kind of like you're building and building and building. And man, it just, you end up with, like, talk about that tool belt. You know, you got the belt, you got the little, you got the, you know, like you're laden down, but like, hold on, where was that one I needed this for this circumstance? Right. Oh, there it is. Right. So you're definitely, you know, building that setup, and still haven't stopped, you know, because there are always new dynamics, you know, that are unfolding, you know, as we speak. So
now, and I don't think a lot of people appreciate this coming in, that on day one, you may be asked to present to council members who are 30 years older than you, have power in their community, are leaders, and you're pushing these ideas of what the community wants. And this is real budgetary issues. Like, you're having to plan it, budget for it. And you're young, you're literally in your 20s. And I think this can take a lot of people back, because I know one of the things that we talk about on the YPN show is how to work with people that are 30 years older than you, and that are masters at their craft or trade, or in maintenance, or at a council meeting. What was it like to have to work with adults as a young man?
I mean, again, I wasn't. I was pretty unabashed. I mean, certainly any new experience you're going to go into it with a certain level of trepidation, but ultimately, I'm operating from a place of genuine inspiration. Like this is an authentic path. This is not contrived. This is not me trying to be or look like something for people. Like I have people in my community who the circumstances that they're dealing with and the challenges that they have and the needs that they have, it doesn't allow for any foolishness or nervousness or like this is a dire situation for folks. And you've been one of those folks who's been selected to be in a position to affect them in a positive way. So when you go in here to talk to these folks, knowing what you've received directly from the community, you have to be prepared to try to convey that as articulately as you can. And it's kind of like, there's no time for being scared. Like, let's, like you're going to be scared while people over here, like we need to be able to advocate so they can get what they need. And so I think kind of circumstances, for me, it didn't always allow for me to, my own shortcomings, get over it. Let's go. Like, cause these folks here, we need to make sure that they get what they need. So, yes, I'm not saying that, there weren't moments you're like, oh man, but then it's kind of like, shake it off. We got to go do what we got to do because I love it.
Yeah. What I'm seeing here in my lifetime of experience is the difference between a man serving a mission and a man serving his own ego. And it looked like on day one, you were just mission driven and your ego just took a back seat versus people who are worried about what they're thinking and who I am and serving myself. And it looks like it served you pretty well.
And I think for me, that's just been fundamental. Now, obviously there's always going to be a level of self-interest. I'm not trying to act like I'm this like angelic being that's, altruistic and all, but yes, ultimately for me, this life is about service to others. Like genuinely, like that's what I realized. Yeah. At 20, whatever I said was 20, 21 year olds. It's like, okay, I'm going to live a life of service to others, a selfless life. And I'm going to be totally enriched by that. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to be totally enriched by my dedication, to community. And I haven't wavered from that. And it's been so enriching. Oh, and that's what I was going to say. I remember one time I was at that San Antonio park. Remember the thought I lost? This is an example that kind of exemplifies what I just said. There was a kid who's like 6'5". He's towering over me, calls my name, and he's kind of like brooding, and he's walking up to me. And I'm like, who in the heck is this? Like, I'm like, all kind of people, because I'm in the park and they know me, but I'm like, who is this kid? And so he's walking up to me, and he's like, Donte Watson? I'm like, yeah. And he turned into this little kid again. This big brooding guy. I'm kind of questionable. What is he turned into this little kid, and he told me, I remember when you used to do this. I remember when you took us here. I remember when you would walk us back from blah, blah, blah. And it reminded me that this is what it's been about the whole time. You plant seeds, you scatter them out. Some of them, come up and some of them don't. That was one of the ones that came up, even if it was just for, whatever that gave him, whatever type of inspiration, whatever frame of reference it gave him. It was impactful because he saw me and he immediately like came up and wasn't this like, kind of intimidating figure. He turned into a kid, like this big 6'5" guy turned into like a little kid, and I saw in his whole demeanor, and it took him back, and he went back to, and so that's what it's about. Like, that's what it's about.
Yeah, that is truly one of the greatest feelings in your life is when the next time you see this 7-year-old is when he's in his 40s. And he runs you down. He's twice your size. He calls you coach. And then he remembers those formative years when you were there for him at a point where he might have been super vulnerable. And that's what he's taken with him into his adult life.
And I'm so happy to have been there to provide that. Because I know, it was indispensable for some of those kids.
Plus, you really haven't lived until you coach a team of fifth graders and on something that they're all going to be horrible at. Nobody on this team's getting an athletic scholarship. And
I've definitely had some of those experiences. But they're going to get a championship and learn how to, like I said, communicate, learn how social skills. How do we work together? When we have a disagreement, what are we going to do? We're going to pout? We're going to fight? Okay, then if we do fight, what's the next stage after that? Like, so those are types of things that you're teaching kids. Put in that effort. Like, you don't have to be the greatest, but try your hardest. Like things like that. That's what I love about sports too. It's like not only just the team dynamics, but like individually, kids start to understand and learn. Oh, I see. What I invest in myself, blooms, twofold, threefold, depending on how much I. And so that's something I always encourage young people. Like, yeah, man, take time and invest in yourself.
Oh, I love it. All right, well, we blew past the halfway point. I just saw it. Let me go ahead. I know that was so fast. Let me play this little promo for our Thursday show. If you're interested in youth sports, Aaron Locks has been doing this for 40 years, dedicated his whole life to youth sports and coaching and refereeing and athletic directors. And so that's every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll play this and then we'll come back with Donte.
At DPRS Media Co., we don't just create content, we elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped, not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics and powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.
All right. So anything to say on, because I know youth sports, along with a lot of other activities that is managed on all this gorgeous real estate portfolio that's under the care of Parks and Recreation. But anything to say on youth sports coaching those formative years?
Well, man, like I said, I mean, it's definitely an opportunity for kids, like I said, are ripe for learning. Typically, usually when you starting in youth sports, maybe you may be as young as like 4 or 5. You could be probably 5 to 7. Probably usually the point where kids kind of come in. And typically, though, they enjoy the sport or want to, develop their skills in the sport. But again, it's a kind of a great opportunity to engage them in the types of things that I was talking about previously: team dynamics, character development. And I think ultimately, in my mind, every kid, obviously not going to be Pele or Jordan or whomever. So really, it's more so about developing confidence, like I talked about, communication skills, how to work with others, learning about the investment in self and commitment. And so I think those are a lot of good values to obviously receive when you're young and start building on. So, and obviously not to mention the fun, the physical activity, that aspect of health and wellness. So I think I love youth sports. I think that the challenge youth sports, and I don't want to digress too far, so get me back on if I'm going away, but
sure.
I think the challenge is funding. A lot of there's multiple things going on. You have a lot of kind of the club teams or organizations,
like travel ball teams and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, typically they are well resourced, oftentimes associated kind of with corporate sponsorship, whereas and typically those kids are on a track that they're actually going to be more competitive, right? They're going to probably go play in college, or they may even make to some level of profession. Most of the kids are not going to do that. And so it's like, I think going forward, one of the challenges that we need to be able to accommodate for is making sure, given what we just said about youth sports and being so important in character development, I think it's important that we give kids an opportunity to see if they can do it. Because what we do know is just based on studies is that kids that are involved in sports, they typically do better in school. There's all of these kind of benchmarks and indicators that tell you the positives of being involved with youth sports. And so, I think in my mind, going forward, definitely one of the things that we're going to have to start doing in communities in general is how we partner and collaborate, whether that's, like I said earlier on in the 80s, what the old school system and recreation system did at that time was, hey, let's use our funding in a complementary manner, or, hey, we have funding for this. Can we bring you all in to do the kind of recreation and enrichment piece? Or so finding ways to make sure that the investment is there. Not to mention corporate and philanthropic and nonprofit money's floating out there. But that's one of the key things. I think as kids get further away from sports, it's a level of isolation, a lack of kind of the skill development we've been talking about, and the lack of, teams create a sense of connectivity, not just, in neighborhoods and communities. And when you can kind of broaden that ethos, that sense of connectivity, like that in and of itself, it has value and is important in any community. So I think there's so much value in sports. I know for me, I've pretty much been an athlete my whole life. And so not just for my personal benefit, but the broader kind of collective benefit. I think there's a lot there.
Yeah. And I really think the industry is really starting to turn around away from this seeking a championship and seeking a D1 scholarship. And I think for a while there, we were focused on that, but shout out to the Atlanta Braves. They were one of the first people that I met. And when I started this show, they were trying to find a way to invest back into the communities because they were seeing a massive drop in people even applying in their minor league teams. Mm-hmm. And so they were getting ready to drop a ton of money on investing in travel ball leagues, but they did the smart thing and they started talking to the coaches and they were like, no, we need community sports that are not so focused on all things baseball. We need them to do all sports. And then they started talking to their pro athletes on the Atlanta Braves and they were like, I did every sport, not just basketball. Yeah. And so then they completely flipped it. And now if you're in that 5-state area that they recruit from, they're investing in the community sports, all things community sports. And so we're starting to see that.
That's key. I think I'm glad to hear it. I know locally, our sports franchise, the A's have moved on to kind of the Sacramento-ish area, but nevertheless, when they were in Oakland and you got the Giants there in SF, they always did a lot of kind of that community-based programming and offering of it. Still do it in Santa Rosa as well as even in Oakland. And I think I worked for San Leandro in the past. The local franchises, at one point, whether it was the Warriors, the Raiders, and so on and so forth. So I think that's a kind of a great resource to tap into. Obviously, the sports franchises, they have a certain level of self-interest. In terms of just making sure that there's interest in their game. Perhaps they'll get some, athletes out in the future, but to kind of just keep the interest involved in whatever the particular sport is, and they have resources, so it's a great kind of marriage, if you will.
Yeah. Okay, so then let's go into now this, and just to let everyone know, Donte's been at this for 25 years, 180,000 people in Santa Rosa.
It's been that much already.
And so, and he's over a $26 million OpEx budget. I mean, this is not a tiny city. 76 full-time employees. So now that you're in kind of to this, I guess, truly adult leader, leading the community, what does it look like? What does today look like for you leading in this current environment, all things considered?
is very much of the same dynamics that I mentioned from when I was just starting my career. It's just that everything's notched up and elevated on a different level, right? All of those same foundational skills that I used then. Now it's like, instead of advisory councils and we'll still do interface with some local, public members of the public, but more so now it's like you're interfacing with commissioners and council members and chambers of commerce and dealing with administrations of local school districts. And so you're still doing those same things. It's just who you're talking to. Now you're talking to other leaders, more like you, folks that can, effectuate change in your community. So, the stakes are a little bit higher. But again, it's the same deal. You're still advocating for the same folks. You're still trying to provide and accomplish the same things. But obviously there's a little bit more pressure because when people put a kind of a figurehead, if you will, there's a target on your back, like, oh, that's the guy. He's the director. Let me. So whether it's pickleball or whether it's like, hey, somebody's dumping near the creek, which is in a park, or whatever the case, you're going to get a myriad of feedback, let's just say, from the community. So. It's just been notched up. But again, it's all the fun stuff. It's funny because people ask you, like, what are the challenging parts of the work, or what are the parts of the work that you don't like? Like, sure, there are parts of it that are, not as fun or as attractive as others, but like, I feel like you can't appreciate the day without the night. So give me both of them. Give me both. I can't just, like, for every, complaining, hey, people are letting their dogs off leash in this park, there's somebody saying, my kid had a great time at this particular camp. The staff were so courteous and well-trained and blah, blah, blah. And so I'll take both because ultimately too, even those folks that are complaining, we're going to receive that feedback and we're going to try to rectify whatever that issue is. So now you can shut up. I mean, silence about that. You probably have something else you'd be calling us about, but yeah, man. So.
Yeah, well, I was. It reminds me, one of my greatest business mentors. Shout out to Shane Bro. He always told me. He said, "Craig, if this was a lemonade stand, how would you run it?" And a lot of times, you just need to go back to the basics and just run it simply. Yeah. And it reminds me of some little quote or whatever I was watching when Jeff Bezos was really young. He said, "So much has changed since we started this company, but we did well because we always focused on the things that never were going to change." And his example was, he never foresaw a future where people wanted things delivered slower, that they would always want it delivered. No matter how much technology changed the world, it's like they wanted things cheaper and they wanted them faster.
There you go.
What are the fundamentals that you can, I guess, anchor yourself to in Parks and Rec that, regardless of what this world offers, this is a constant in Parks and Rec?
I mean, like I kind of said, you're always going to have kind of needy people. I don't mean to say that in a pejorative way, but you're always going to have those folks who, I want my swim hours. I want my this. I want my that. So again, for me, it's not so much an onerous thing. It's more like, and sometimes we can't always accomplish everything for everybody, but it's just like, how can we, hearing all of these bits and pieces of feedback, like how can we make this mosaic work where it works for this one over here, that one over there, that, the multifaceted community we have. And so I think that's always going to be fundamental. People need stuff. They want stuff. They want to be able to access and tell you, because it's so important to them, right? And so I think that's always going to be a constant. And then too, like the other thing is that especially when you're talking about kids and families, as a parent, it's always going to be the case that you want to have somewhere you can take your child. You can have the peace of mind knowing they're going to be safe. There's going to be adults that care for them there, that are well-trained, just going to respect their dignity, and just going to make sure that they have fun, learn, grow, such that, kind of similar to the comment I just mentioned, where you get those parents who are like, oh man, my kid did this and they brought art back every day. And parents, that's always going to be attractive to parents. And they're going to feel the level of appreciation that they're going to feel, because just similar, like I said, I've had, young people walk up to me like, hey, I remember you did this. I've also seen parents who man, I've raised, 2 or 3 of their kids, I helped them, and so they always express, like, I remember when they were in this, man, like, you used to take them here, and, just expressing that level of appreciation, because again, it takes a lot off your mind when you can go to work or do whatever it is that you need to do in your adult life, and that you can, I can plop this kid here and they're going to be okay for this next 8 hours, and I can bank on that. And so I can, now I can go do the things I have to do. And I think that's some of the most fundamental things. It's like especially that, certainly there's a lot of adults who do their pickleball and do this and that, and they're more so, typically that's probably retired or older adults, and it's not so much, it's more so about them. But I think that family piece is critical, because, we're in a capitalistic society. It's about hustle and bustle. I got to get out there. I got to go do this. I got to run and do that, and do whatever you need to do to take care of it all. And so just, again, knowing that we are kind of like that sanctuary for especially families. And I think that's so fundamental, and that definitely won't change. I think, matter of fact, it's probably becomes more and more important as time progresses, because, we're continuing to be busy.
Yeah. And especially with this AI and robotic world coming at us at the speed of light, I'm thinking a kid will always need teammates. A father will always need to discover his ability to coach. They'll always need a field to practice on. Mom always needs a swing to push her child on. I mean, some of these things are never going away,
right?
Regardless of everything else changing. And I think if we're not, if a kid can't find teammates in your community, what are we doing here? It's
right. We got to cultivate that environment, man.
Right.
I mean, the other thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, there's so many other things that fit that category of this is the why we're doing this. And that's just one example, like a kid on a sports team, but it could be an elderly person that, is alone and needs her little senior center.
Very much so. Because, you're touching on seniors. Like, that's something that we hear often, especially during the pandemic. There was a lot of loneliness, a lot of depression, a lot of isolation. And so, obviously I've overseen senior centers and senior programs, and they're thriving. Those seniors they love their whatever their little centers are and their activities. And man, like, that stuff, it starts to become a critical lifeline for them, especially at a certain point, for camaraderie, for longevity, sense of enthusiasm and zest for life. And
especially with the way we're extending our lives, it seems like we're all getting better at caring for ourselves, health, yoga, you name it. It's like we're adding decades onto our life. And so that end of life experience is now no longer like a 5-year experience. It's almost like a 30-year experience.
Right. Yeah. So we got to definitely continue to, certainly that's a fundamental aspect, I would say, of any community, is, other than just children and families, our seniors. It's something that I was passionate about, since I've worked with senior populations, because frankly, the stage that they're at in life is similar to having another childhood. It's like, it is. And so we have to create the same type of safeguards, and just making sure, again, that they have opportunities to participate in the types of things that they want to do. That's going to keep them engaged, keep them in a healthy mind state.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, because for those of you that know, the foundation of this show all started with me starting a Bitcoin show, and that's where I fell in love with creating media. But we had such a huge group of older, like elderly people that were getting into Bitcoin that had these horrific stories where they got scammed. And it's like, okay, we got to create a better environment to kind of people, because they're just like easy targets. But I'm guessing it's strengthening their security system. But
well, I guess if somebody gets you once or twice, you start to learn. Hopefully you got some people around you that's helping you out too.
Now, not to minimize how intelligent some of these old ladies are, that they are like sharks out there.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. But certainly there are certain tactics and techniques that folks can use that they may be unaccustomed to, Like you said, they have an experience like, oh, okay, now I know Now
Yeah.
I know not to go down that rabbit hole.
Right. Right. So, all right. So now you're kind of leading your ship. What kind of message do you have for, and I do this as a regular, but imagine you have a classroom of undecided college kids that really are unsure. Not that any 20-year-old is unsure about what they're going to do with the rest of their life. Uh, but what would be the testimony or the witness you would give to this industry, to those kids?
I probably would sound much like what I've been gushing about for the last however long we've been on here. It's just
Yeah, I agree.
if you're somebody that, like I said, enjoys fun, being outdoors, doing active activities, swimming, running, cycling, hiking, you name it, and somebody who enjoys, again, interpersonal connection, who enjoys seeing, like I said, people be exposed to progress and develop, encounter and recognize new things. Sure, you could make pretty decent change while doing it. Frankly, I always feel like, and I always say this, but I almost feel like I would do this for free. I think once I retire, I'm probably going to be somewhere at some type of center, volunteering or doing something, because it's so gratifying. I mean, certainly doesn't hurt to get a check, because I got a mortgage. People got to pay rent, we got to eat and things like that. And the field, pays you pretty decently. If you're comparing, especially as a young person, you're comparing it to, like, working in retail or working in the food industry or something like that. It's so much more gratifying. You get to develop, skill sets, even if it's just like something like learning how to swim, or, if you're on a trajectory to become a lifeguard, for example, that's a life skill. And it's just so much richness in this field. And like I said, starting out earlier, just the level of creativity and how expansive this field is. Like, to me, that's very attractive as a young person, because you may feel like, oh, my interests don't align squarely with, like, I don't want to do sports. Well, maybe you're interested in carbon sequestration. Maybe you can help us plant some more trees, or design parks that mitigate heat island effects, for example. Like, it doesn't have to be kind of like people think of recreation, kind of try to put it like here. No, it's out here, baby.
It's huge.
I mean,
yeah.
What is your thought? Oh, you want to design murals? There's a place for that in recreation. I mean, it's so expansive. So I think all of those things will kind of be the selling points. I mean, like, if you want a fun lifestyle, you want to do something that's meaningful while making a good little bit of money, and probably your body's going to be in good shape. Certainly your mind is going to be in good shape. I mean, hey, come on out and check out recreation. So I do that with young people all the time. They're like, hey, what do you like recreate? You think you want to get a job? Like, what's that? You start telling them, like, oh, okay, I'll try it. Sometimes you get people that get hooked. So,
yeah. And I would say to all those college kids listening, don't be so quick to sacrifice who this industry is going to make of you for a 20% pay bump. It's you might get paid a little bit more upfront in the early days, but this industry makes you into a great person, because it's a service driven industry. It's a mission driven industry, and that extra 20%, it's going to seem so meaningless when you look back at 30, 40 years of your life serving the paycheck versus serving the mission.
Right. How much more value is there in the relationships that have been cultivated, the hearts and minds that have been received consolation? I mean, the family dynamics that have been created, and sense of community that has been able to come out. Like, there's so much value beyond, we're in a capitalistic society, but there's so much greater value, because right now I'm a very example of that value, because I'm going back to what I said in the beginning, all of those caring adults that just invested in me, whether it was just a little bit, but that flowered within who I was supposed to become as a person. And now I'm able to add so much value to any community because of that. And so it's like continuing to repeat that process. It's like somebody planted a seed here. Okay, now it's my time to be the sower. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not because industry is easy. It's anything but easy. It's if anything, it's a very challenging job. You might never see a weekend or holiday again, but 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 it's got purpose. And I think we are as men, as humans, really we're built to have purpose, not to just get paid.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And again, it's so gratifying. I love it. You know,
Yeah.
if I could use a metaphor of a great garden, you know, you coming in and you just got raised beds and there's nothing there. And then all of a sudden you just start seeing, wow, oh, wow, look at that coming up. Look at all the colors. Look at the variation. Oh, man, it just becomes this beautiful tapestry.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a little tradition at the end of our show is to ask a little fun question, and then you get to leave a question for our next victim. But if you were a piece of playground equipment, what would it be and why?
Ooh, if I was a piece of playground equipment, what would it be and why? I probably would be a play structure. One, because I used to love running around on play structures with kids in the summer. You know, we playing tag. I'm crawling up the pole, running up the stairs. But then I think because one, I know it would get a lot of use. Like I would be a fundamental centerpiece in a park. But then also too, it's like metaphorically, like look at all those motor skills you're developing, and like you're building yourself up, you're building yourself up, you're developing yourself and your physical dexterity, your skill. But that's metaphoric for you're developing this, you're developing this, you're developing this. So it's like that to me, that's a metaphor for just development and growth. And just as you see those kids, like sometimes they're just like, oh, I'm trying to pull up that thing or get up that stair. And then eventually they get up that stair. And then now they're doing this and they're doing that and enjoying all the little aspects of the play structure. That would probably be me. Just that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these play structures are getting so elaborate. I see some of these like spider web climbing nets. I'm like, man, I wish I had that when I was little.
I love to go to the national conferences, and I do turn to a kid, and I do wear athletic gear. They have like the Ninja Cross ones, and like 1 year I had some friends over there like videoing me because they were like, "Dude, you're going hard." I'm like, "Dude, this is fun."
That's it.
When did we get to be kids? You know, like we don't always get to. You know, as you get older, especially you were wearing a suit and so forth, and you're in the council, you don't always get to climb up fun play structures. So I definitely love and appreciate those opportunities.
Yeah. All right. So, what question you want to leave for the next guest?
So I talked to you about kind of like those experiences where I had people kind of came back to me and told me, "Hey, like here's what I got out of what you gave." So just kind of asking people about, you know, what are some of those experiences that you had when people kind of told you like, "Hey, this is what it meant, what you did for me when you did this," or you know, they kind of came back and gave you that feedback about how you may have impacted them. So yeah, just share with us some times that you've gotten feedback about, you know, someone that you serve and what it meant to them and how it impacted.
Oh, that's going to be a good one. Oh, I'm going to get some powerful responses from that one.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, Donte, I can't believe, I feel like we've left so much that we could have talked about. I need to have you
got to come back and do it again, man.
Right. We do. Yeah, I'll check in on you in a few months and we'll just pick up where we left off. This has been a great show.
Hey, this is fun. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the conversation, the warm and welcoming environment. I could talk this stuff all day, every day. I love this field, as you can see.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all you do for your community and giving back and dedicating your life to this. It really is a powerful life example. So I hope a lot more people follow in your footsteps.
It's my pleasure, sir. It truly is. Yeah.
Well, have an awesome week, man. Take care.
Likewise to you. Take care.
All right. Bye. Man, what a great this is such a great industry to highlight people's careers because, you know, and I think one of the highlights of that testimony from Donte in his life is just how even in the early days when he was a child, he grew up in a community that was, you know, somewhat tribal, clan-like they took care of the people, even if they weren't immediate family. And he took that with them into his career. And even today you see it, you know, flourishing of him just giving back and having that purpose-driven life, a mission-driven life, and not that he doesn't have an ego, or any of us don't have egos that also want to be served, but it's definitely not in the driver's seat. And you can see that what's driving Donte's life and his community through his leadership in Parks and Rec is the purpose and the mission of serving his community and making sure no one gets left out. And I think at the base layer, that is what drives the culture of Parks and Rec. And that's what we're trying to lift up and showcase and get this industry out of this discovery major category that it's in, but that this is something that, people should be beating the door down to spend their life giving back. And like he said, get paid doing it, because it really is fulfilling. And I think he is just another great example of how this is such a fulfilling career and such a fulfilling life. And it really does give back to you. And as you've seen, it's not because it's easy, but because it's I think we're meant to have something that's greater than us that we want to invest our lives into. So great job, Donte. Thank you so much for coming on to the show, and thank you for all that you do. We have another show similar to this one, a leadership series coming up here in a few minutes. So I will see y'all probably in about 20-25 minutes. We'll do this again. Thanks a lot. Bye. Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the daily Parks and Rec show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.